Good afternoon and welcome to the Integrated Smart and Crestron webinar focusing on increasing interactive collaboration for more effective and productive meetings by enabling access to remote content from any source, anywhere. During the webinar, all participants will be on mute, so please use the chat function at the bottom of the screen to ask questions, which will be answered at the end of the webinar. I am your host, Rick English, and today, Fraser Cousins, our Smart Global Business Sales Consultant, will begin the webinar exploring the new normal and sediments of what the modern meeting room must have. Kevin Dry is a technical product manager at Crestron, and he will outline the newest innovations of Crestron, presenting and delivering of flawless video, audio, and interactive content directly to your SmartBoard Pro interactive display. Followed by how Smart integrates with Crestron to enable remote content from any source, anywhere on a Crestron DMNVX network. Over to you, Fraser.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate everyone joining. So good morning, good afternoon to you all. I'm very excited about presenting with Crestron today because we're really showing a true showcase product that's jointly designed for the market that is called the Crestron D80 that unlocks the best of Crestron and the best of Smart on really enabling organizations to do something different. Why that's so important, why I'm so excited is the workplace has dramatically changed. We could all agree that we are in an unprecedented period of time of work. And there's not many opportunities, I think, in a work career where we could really say that to be true. And we're truly there with COVID-19, the rise of work exclusively from home. It's truly changed the way that we're really thinking about how we work and how we work together. And that truly, I think we're all would say that we've been working with web conferencing or as knowledge workers working with web conferencing from home. And that's absolutely necessary, but perhaps identified as insufficient, that really how we work together on workflows is changing. And so that's what we're really trying to showcase here on this particular slide is that you might be thinking about traditional meet spaces and so forth. With the change to looking at rise of change and go back to work, what are the spaces we can really enable? We just conducted a primary research study that actually focused on asking our questions about what your return to work plan looks like. And over 2/3 of you are in midst of a plan or have a fulsome plan around it that focuses on more spaces with fewer seats to be able to enable. But if you think about it, the challenge we have is our existing footprint of our layouts of our spaces. We only have so many conference walls or so many spaces we can do. And that's what's really rising this modern workspace arena where we could truly look at open zones as the next arena of how we can absolutely open up and work through, whether that's project work groups of how we scrum together, our common open areas like coffee bars or lunchroom arenas, to how we might be able to enable more open zone areas where we can really work and expand the amount of open spaces that we can do to work together. And that's what we're really talking about here today. How can we do that effectively? And so between the two different organizations, Crestron is amazing at enabling traditional non-spaces, whether that was the rise of the partitioned room to large areas or areas around the rack to now really syndicating any signal on video to any space possible with the new digital media platform of NVX, which truly delivers the ability of any source, anywhere. And when you combine that with Smart, that we really can take your content and put that on steroids for a richer, more immersive experience for your users, you can change what used to be just passively viewed on, let's say a screen that might be showcasing some digital signage information, but make it more versatile for making it an interactive experience that you could be booking, wayfinding, even doing ad hoc whiteboarding or meeting kind of presenting content those areas. And that's what we're really talking about today, is those areas. So the first thing we're going to really concentrate is in the area that Crestron has created an IoAV Alliance to help bring these both the, let's call it the signal, the source, the information to the display world in a very novel way. Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Fraser. We're very excited, of course, about this IoAV Alliance and our partnership with Smart. This alliance allows both Crestron and Smart to really work together to bring this native NVX experience to smart displays. Some of the benefits of this alliance are, Smart is able to supply us with displays for our extensive testing process. This way we can really guarantee that the NVX product line and the Smart product line work together in tandem. We're able to work with Smart engineers, and Smart's able to work with our engineers as well. And to work together like that really make sure that the products are going to work together, and once they get out into the field, they do exactly what we expect them to do. And that's past the video as well as USB traffic from the Smart displays. A little bit more about this alliance. We do have other partners. Smart, of course, we work together very well with Smart, and as far as their touch interface goes, there's nothing like it. So it gave our products quite a workout, and it was great to work together with them to make sure that we're able to pass video to their displays without any issue, as well as get that touch back from the display to the source.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it. So if you think about this, now you have a plausible way for all of the display world to be able to deliver a native experience to it. So every SmartBoard Pro series has an OPS receptacle. And what that allows for is a single SKU to be able to be deployed for it. And you can actually simply just slide it in, one network cable, and it will give you this beautifully clean, simple deployment method. No more sneakerware. You can provision this from the cloud, from the system, and then just simply slide in and be able to have the promise of infinite video sources being sent to your display. And not only can you do that with great audio video with 4x4x4 4K capabilities, but what Kevin and I are really excited to announce, for the first time natively, you can now be able to not just get the audio video, but we enable your USB multi-touch experience across that same network. So very, very magical type of thing. So that means that think of everywhere that you have a display inside your company that now could be potentially an interactive open zone for, I don't know, maybe you walk into the lobby and you need to be able to book your seating assignment for the day. Or if you want to be able to pick a meeting room that you want to do, you need to be able to wayfind your way to a next zone. Maybe you are looking for an ad hoc space where you can whiteboard. All of these kind of capabilities unlock with what you can really do with this kind of capability. Over to you, Kevin, to explain the new product.
Great. So here is the DMNVX D80 IoAV. This is a streaming decoder, and this thing is really built for smart boards. I mean, no latency video and no latency USB is something that's that the smart boards require and displays. And the reason is, when you touch something on a interactive surface like that, you can't have latency or lag. You need that to be instant, and the NVX product line is able to do that through the Smart products. This natively works with Smart MX 6000 and 7000 series, and that OPS connector that you see on the right side really handles all the traffic: the video, the the audio, the USB traffic, control of the display. That all goes through that OPS connector, right through the network interface on the LAN port at the top. This device natively supports 4K 60 444, as was mentioned earlier. And of course, we can actually take lower resolutions as well. Very flexible as far as resolution goes. It offers display control, RS-232, as well as CEC display control. So we can actually get information not just to the display to turn it on and off, but we can get information from the display, such as what input it's on, or if it's powered on. AES67 audio is a new feature that we've just added. So now we can actually get audio out of this unit and send it to a DSP to be able to get audio in a room or even larger into a larger space. XIO Cloud is built into the unit as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in another slide. And touch and ink markup are also natively supported.
Thank you, Kevin. That's absolutely right. So let's take a reflection on this. So this new decoder that really gives you all the things you need, but but nothing you don't. So you can have a true low-cost method to scale how you want to be able to deliver a consistent experience to your open zone spaces, or frankly, any area you want to deploy to. And it lets you package up that audio, video, USB in a manner for what source of or tools or content you want to bring to that overall display. And again, I can't emphasize enough that this back channel of multi-way around not just audio video, but also the route of the USB multi-touch is a significant engineering feat that is a game changer in the industry. Which, if you think about it, it really does these three things very well. It really changes the environment. So if you think about Crestron's DM environment, it really abstracts that. It moves us beyond just the bring your own device in the room to really have a consistent approach for what kind of other content you want to bring into that space. Whether that is video content, whether that is a camera content, whether that is a broadcast, whether it's a digital signage, whether that's a wayfinder. You really can start dreaming larger on all the different experiences you can deliver for your end users. Secondly, it really changes the spaces you want to really consider going to that, and it really helps support that concept of your return to work strategy. So beyond the huddle room or beyond the conference room, you have a method now to take you to the town halls, to take you to the project work groups, the experience centers, the war rooms, the operation control spaces. Really, you can envision any space now that you have a display in your company could now be an endpoint in this overall environment. And with Smart, we can take those endpoints and change it from a passive viewing experience to a truly an active experience that lets you multi-touch, write, mark up, save, and be able to capture that lighting in the bottle so there will be no lost information, which we think is quite an important concept. It really supports this area around that survey we were talking about, that really when we ask the customers about their return to work policy and what's the nature and change of the workplace for them, what they're really saying is 76% of organizations are saying that the workplace has shifted from a place we work to now where we want to go when we want to collaborate together. It really tells you that there's a missing piece of working from home alone that doesn't really allow us to go beyond a conversing meeting or maybe an information sharing meeting that web conferencing does so well. It really tells us where we have problem solving modalities, areas where we have to get work done or work on things together. It's still more powerful than people want to choose to rather go into work to be able to accomplish those. So my question to you is, what is your company's plan on how to address that? And we believe at Crestron and Smart, we have a very compelling proposition together on how we could do that, whether that's from the booking process for kiosking to delivering this more richer way of real-time working. You really have an end-to-end answer here with Crestron and Smart. So specifically with this idea is you can really think about any endpoint that was going to unlock multi-touch. So that can allow for really not just being a window of viewing, but it's really not and about eyeballs. It's instead about driving work forward more effectively. You can now be able to do markup and review on those use cases where you can universally ink on any content. In fact, one of the new features that Smart does with its whole Pro series is the ability to actually freeze content that doesn't even have the ability to be USB controlled. I can actually freeze and telestrate just like you would see on your local news broadcast or your a favorite sports programming for how they're able to do full telestrate. We'll actually live demo that for you today on that capability. we go a little bit further than that. Smart has a connected whiteboarding experience that is quite unique in the marketplace. And what that really means is rather than I view you, I share, you view, or you share, I view, like web conferencing is designed, that one-to-many approach, Smart has an experience that we call connected whiteboarding, which allows you to be on a common playing ground where all users can contribute to the material, and you can truly work multi-way on material together. So Kevin adds material in, Fraser does markup upon, Kevin adds more comments to it, and round we go. We can truly work on something co-authoring together, so you can really accomplish the goals of really moving material forward. Lastly, we make sure that everything on a smartboard that you can do is you can save upon that information and make sure that you're able to recap and send it out. So everyone's on the same page. You can build consensus and have no misinterpretation on what we're talking about at any given time. Even more so, you can do pause, resume on bringing material from one area to another. So great way of kind of working through the workflow on how you can work together. Rather than talking about it, I'm actually going to go ahead and demonstrate that for you. So what I'm actually going to do is change my camera view, and I'm actually going to show you that I have been on a smartboard the whole time for how I was presenting this experience for you. I was actually using the method of showcasing and sharing what's happening through my encoded computer to the smartboard, which allows me truly to be able to drive a presentation overall for that area. So very, very powerful way of kind of working. And I have the ability to be able to control by USB, the ability to be able to move back and forth through multi-touch. So let's look at this slide. So this slide's really talking about easy management. So it's true, if you couple your decode, your endpoint, your display with Smart, we give you a rich, intelligent context of what's happening in the room. And what that means is that we can understand a lot more information what's happening in the room. So all of our smart boards have built-in proximity sensors, sensors that measure the level of ambient light so we can automatically brighten or darken your system. And we also report all that information correctly to Crestron through the XIO cloud environment, which allows for you to have a very high level of control in regards to how your systems ultimately work. And you can monitor that. You monitor all that with one dashboard view on the device's health and what's exactly happening, and actually doing sets on scheduled planned activities that you'd like to see in your system. Even more so, you can do rich reporting on the utilization that happens in this environment overall. Actually, rather than me speak about it, why don't I hand it over to Kevin to actually talk a little bit further about some examples of how customers use XIO Cloud to really drive that smarter building approach.
Sure, absolutely. So XIO Cloud, as it sounds, is a platform cloud-based in the Azure cloud. It allows fast setup and mass deployment of course, NVX endpoints, which means from the cloud you can actually deploy this, and you may not even have to send an individual out to set up the devices. Another aspect of it is remote troubleshooting and monitoring. And this is the part that really helps to make the smart display and the NVX piece come together as a native experience, because from this point now we can actually get data back from the display, as Fraser mentioned, such as what input is it on, is it plugged in? This data can be used for not only troubleshooting, but it can also be used for things like, is this room being used and how is this room being used? And that's a really powerful thing, to be able to understand what rooms are being used, how often, and if you need more of that type of room or maybe less of that type of room because they're not being utilized to their full potential.
I love that. And I even love what's called the modality of the report. I mean, so imagine you deploy a bunch of open zone areas and you're wondering how often are people viewing digital signage versus viewing maybe wayfinding versus maybe doing a booking process or doing an ad hoc meeting. Because we can report by source within the Crestron environment, you can actually find out that area. And so maybe the front office part of the building where your lobby is, you might find that you have different different dynamics of use than other areas in that overall space. You can get a real good sense of the topology of how your users might be using the product. So if you like what you're hearing today in regards to how you can really open up the ability, actually, before I do that, I was going to break into that, but I forgot to give you the other part of the demonstration. So what you're actually witnessing on the smart board is I actually have a D80 plugged in that's driving my encoded laptop, like I mentioned earlier. But I also have this wall plate. So if you take a look at my camera here, this is actually my ability to change those infinite video sources that I potentially could do from one to another. And my demonstration environment has two sources. So I have a computer and I also have a digital signage application. So I'm going to go ahead and change over by pressing the button right here on be able to change that environment to a digital signage application. So in this case, I have a 4K video playing on my area. And actually, you might, because of echo cancellation, you probably are not hearing the audio, but I can assure you that I have full audio on this experience as well. And whenever I'm ready, I have the ability to actually pause and freeze the frame of what I'm actually viewing. And I can absolutely do markup on any video source I want to. So here's an example of the D80 and how it connects using that OPS open pluggable standard connection into your smart board, and what powers that full experience. And all you need is that Ethernet connection for going over your network for how we might want to work together and getting your sources there. That's exactly what's happening on this particular demonstration. Whenever I'm ready, like I said earlier, you have the ability to save and capture what you're actually working upon, and then ultimately get you right back to where you're working on that material. So that's possible across any video source that you'd want to, that's not even USB controlled. So if it's a computer, we go straight in and we can actually pass along that multitouch control where I was controlling the PowerPoint and doing markup on it. But also I can do markup on something that doesn't even understand USB touchable. So it really lets you have a universal approach to doing a richer way of working. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about moving it back to the next level. So if you like what you're hearing today, and you're wondering, how could I think about a return to work strategy? What is my plan look like? Smart wants to help you deliver that with Crestron in a more significant way. So the first resource we have for you is we have gone very wide in regards to our ability to support remote briefings. So we actually have enabled all of our territories throughout North America to be able to support you to do a remote demonstration around this and be able to get a more one-on-one time on a consulting approach on what your goals are and how that might translate to a plan. And if you look at the combination of both Crestron and Smart, you really could offer the ability around how you can offer bookings to how you might use your systems, what are the right approaches and how you might want to do an open zone. There's a whole host of capabilities of what you really can consider to do here. Also, I want to say that both Ryan Streimer and Rick English are joining us on the call today, and feel free to reach out to them directly for any questions that you might have to contact us and have a further conversation. But with that, I want to open to questions and really get the conversation started here on what we kind of witnessed on how we really can, for the first time ever, really take any content anywhere and now unlock any space with any content. So Rick, what are the questions from the interweb coming in?
Hi. So we have one about the unit with they just want to, do they still have to have the USB-C and not USB-C, but the USB cord and the HDMI cord plugged in with the new Crestron unit?
I'll take this.
Go ahead.
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, actually, the OPS connector in the back handles HDMI connection, the USB connection, as well as control connections such as RS-232 or CEC. So that's actually done right through there.
Yeah, it's native, so it's one cable for it all in regards to it. So that's quite powerful for the decode side. I would say the other side you have to look at in a digital media environment is there's the encoding side. So it is still true if you want to pass along USB control, you do need to have that end computer, whether it's a Mac or a PC or whatever you're controlling. You will have to plug in a USB cord and a video cord for the encoder to take that signal to pass it through correctly. So you're completing the chain in regards to it. I have been asked about bi-directional USB control. And what that means is there's the connection to the computer, but what about if I have a webcam that's in the room? Can that webcam from the room go over that said network back to that computer? And so we have a bi-reciprocal connection. And the answer is yes. That's a huge new advancement that the product now does support. So that it was the most recent firmware. So if you have previously purchased the D80, I encourage you to update your firmware because I believe that release was this April, I believe, Kevin. If I'm that's how the story's
There's been several releases where we're always updating the product. So yeah, absolutely. I would definitely load the latest and greatest firmware to make sure that you unlock all the power of that device for sure.
Yeah, just like a Tesla, your experience is going to get better over time in regards to unlocking more feature sets of what you can do. So I will say that does support up to 2.0 level webcam and UVC devices for you, but it really kind of lets you dream in a wider set of how you actually want to design your environment for what you can really do. Great question.
And I think you kind of answered this, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyway. With this new, for lack of better words, hybrid environment that will probably last well after this situation, and everybody's still, at least partial staffs working from home and remotely, does this provide a richer environment?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So first off, it's going to be, we just finished that survey and actually I think 83% of organizations are prepared to believe that we are truly in a new normal. And what does that new normal mean? It means that our knowledge workers will have the option of by day to decide to go into the office or to work from home. It's really to enable them of what effective work style they're looking for. The question you should be thinking about yourself is, what am I doing as an organization to enable my office to truly support the challenges that they're faced with when only working from home? So working from home, great tool for what we can do over web conference, what we can do on conversing modalities. How can we support collaboration when you're in the office? And I really urge you to really consider how you might do that with your footprint and floor plan for kind of unlocking it. And yeah, I think I'm not a prognosticator, but I think we have to prepare for there will be lasting effects of this area if we believe the current sentiments of what organizations or the wisdom of the crowd for how this will mean.
Okay, and I see this question quite often. The sizes of the boards, and speakers on those. Could you go over those real quick, Fraser?
Yeah, for sure. So every smart board that Smart offers, and you're going to find this true in the whole touch industry, ranges in sizes that are up to 86, so 65 inch, 75 inch, and 86 inch. You might be wondering why is only 86 the size? Well, remember every smart board has the ability for an HDMI out that allows you to be able to enable a larger display. The reason why you tap out 86 is because of issues around touchability. So if you take the percentile of people's height range for how high they can reach, that's usually the top out rate for the 90th percentile of women. So that gives you a sense of how much range of height we can really do. Now, Smart, of course, makes an alternative product called the Smart Podium that lets you put it in even smaller spaces or at the table use cases or in very large venues like town halls to enable that experience. And there's a separate decoder option you could do on a DM environment that would work very well with the Smart Podium use case. And because of the HDCP support that those encoders have, you can still truly deliver any content and do markup on it.
And Kevin, can you elaborate a little bit more about, Fraser said something about the firmware updates for the encoder. Could you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Well, we're always updating the product, so we go through tons of firmware updates. We're actually in the middle of a firmware cycle right now. So depending on what was on it versus what's on it today, you know, that stuff can always be updated. We work very hard to make sure that over time, you know, you're not locked out of updating firmware. Some of the updates that have happened, we've improved the video quality. We've actually reduced latency even further. We added AES 67 recently, and of course, if we find something that's not working in the smart environment that we can resolve with firmware update, we're going to make sure that those are in there as well. So things like USB and improvements on that can happen over time as well.
I will say this about Kevin's product set here. So if we think about what's available to us, right? So there's still the traditional way of having a service port on each of the encoders and decoders to manually provide firmware updates. But even more powerfully, the XIL Cloud does that even more powerfully overall for how you can do it at scale. Remember, you're on the same common network. So using a network methodology for doing your firmware updates is absolutely real and very powerful for what you can do on the Crestron environment. So
Yeah.
I really encourage you to do that. Also, Smart, you can also get the reporting area of our firmware, which of course we support automatic over-the-air updates as well.
All right. Well, that looks like all the questions for now. Did you guys want to top off on anything?
Yeah, well, why don't you go first, Kevin? Then I'll close the show.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate you having me here today and taking the time to go through everything. I think we've covered pretty much what the D80 is capable of, and you know what advantages it has with the smart products for sure. You know.
Perfect. And what I want to say is feel free to reach out to Ryan and Rick on if you like what you're seeing here today, you will get a follow-up email that will give you more richer information for you to be able to choose a next step for you. But we are in that new precedented time. I really encourage you to think through what your return to work strategy is for how you're going to unlock collaboration. And this is a great place to start for how you can really do that effectively. And we can't wait to help you. So thank you so much for your time and have a great day.